Welcome. Let's explore today's editorial page. Our objective is to get familiar with powerful words that will enhance our communication. Also, make sure to pronounce each word after me to improve your pronunciation. I have added a test at the end of the video, so watch till the end. Ready? Let's go. Introducing the word turpitude. It is a noun. Turpitude means wickedness or morally reprehensible behavior. In simpler terms, it refers to engaging in actions that are considered highly immoral or evil. This is how to use it in a sentence. His act of turpitude shocked everyone. Another example would be, the politician's turpitude was exposed in the media. Some synonyms for turpitude are depravity, immorality, and corruption. On the other hand, antonyms or words with opposite meanings are virtue, morality, and integrity. Now, let's meet the word aggrieved. It is an adjective. Aggrieved describes the feeling of resentment or harm due to injustice. In simpler words, it means feeling upset or harmed because of something unfair. Let's see some examples to understand better. The aggrieved party filed a lawsuit. Another example is, she felt aggrieved by the unfair treatment. Synonyms for aggrieved are resentful, injured, and afflicted. Antonyms or words with opposite meaning are pleased, content, and satisfied. Now let's discuss pendency. It is a noun that refers to the state of being undecided or awaiting resolution. In simpler terms, it means when something is not yet decided or waiting to be resolved. Let's take a look at some examples. One example is, the pendency of the case caused anxiety. Another example would be, the pendency of the decision was frustrating. Synonyms or words with similar meaning for pendency include unresolved, pending, and undecided. Antonyms would be resolved, decided, and concluded. Our next word is prolonged. It is an adjective that means lasting for a significant time. In simpler words, it means something that continues for a long period. Let's explore some examples. One example is, the prolonged drought caused a famine. Another example could be, his illness led to a prolonged absence from work. Synonyms or words with similar meaning for prolonged are extended, lengthy, and protracted. Antonyms would be short, brief, and temporary. Moving on to lacunae. It is a noun that refers to gaps or areas that are incomplete or lacking. In simpler terms, it means missing parts or things that are not there. Let's see these examples to understand better. One example is, the research paper had several lacunae. Another example would be, the lacunae in the law were exploited by criminals. Synonyms for lacunae include gap, void, and omission. Antonyms or words with opposite meaning would be completion, fulfillment, and inclusion. Now let's talk about rectified. It is a verb that means corrected or made right. In simpler words, it means fixing or making something right. Let's see an example of how to use it in a sentence. For example, the error in the report was rectified. Another example could be, the mechanic rectified the problem with the car. Synonyms for rectified are corrected, amended, and fixed. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be worsened, damaged, and ruined. Moving on to procurement. It is a noun that refers to obtaining or acquiring something. In simpler terms, it means getting or acquiring something. Let's see some examples to understand it better. One example is, the procurement of supplies was his responsibility. Another example could be, the company has a new procurement policy. Synonyms for procurement include acquisition, purchase, and obtaining. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be loss, disposal, and release. Now let's discuss fiasco. It is a noun that refers to a complete failure or disaster. In simpler terms, it means something going really wrong or a big disaster. Let's take a look at some examples. One example is, the party turned into a fiasco. Another example could be, the project was a complete fiasco. Synonyms for fiasco include disaster, debacle, and failure. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be success, triumph, and achievement. Our next word is acerbic. It is an adjective that means harsh or critical in tone or manner. In simpler words, it means being sharp or bitter in the way you speak or behave. Let's explore some examples. One example is, his acerbic comments hurt her feelings. Another example could be, the critic's acerbic review upset the director. Synonyms for acerbic are bitter, sharp, and harsh. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be sweet, gentle, and kind. Moving on to tantamount, it is an adjective. Tantamount means equivalent in effect, meaning, or value. In simpler terms, it describes something that is essentially equal or equivalent in effect, meaning, or value. For instance, his silence was tantamount to admission of guilt. Another example would be, the damage was tantamount to a total loss. Some synonyms for tantamount are equivalent, equal, and comparable. As for antonyms, we have different, unequal, and dissimilar. Now let's talk about multilateralism. It is a noun that refers to the principle of cooperation among multiple countries or parties. In simpler terms, it means countries or parties working together. Let's see some examples. One example is, the treaty was a triumph of multilateralism. Another example could be, multilateralism is key to global cooperation. Synonyms for multilateralism include cooperation, collaboration, and partnership. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be unilateralism, isolationism, and individualism. Moving on to rumbling, it is a noun that refers to continuous low-frequency sounds or noises. In simpler terms, it means a continuous deep sound. Let's take a look at some examples. One example is, the rumbling of thunder was heard in the distance. Another example would be, the rumbling of his stomach indicated his hunger. Synonyms for rumbling include roaring, grumbling, and resounding. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be silence, quiet, and stillness. Now let's discuss disconcerting. It is an adjective that means disturbing or causing unease. In simpler words, it means something that makes you feel uncomfortable or unsettled. Let's see some examples. One example is, the news was disconcerting. Another example could be, his behavior was disconcerting. Synonyms for disconcerting are unsettling, disturbing, and discomforting. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be comforting, reassuring, and soothing. Our next word is unanimously. It is an adverb that means in complete agreement or consensus. In simpler terms, it means when everyone agrees on something. Let's explore some examples. One example is, the motion was unanimously approved. Another example could be, they unanimously decided to go on a trip. Synonyms for unanimously are compatible, consensual, and agreed. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be divided, disagreed, and contested. Moving on to fanciful. It is an adjective that means imaginary or not based on reality. In simpler words, it means something that is made up or not real. Let's take a look at some examples. One example is, the child had a fanciful imagination. Another example could be, his fanciful ideas were dismissed. Synonyms for fanciful are imaginary, unreal, and fantastic. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be realistic, practical, and sensible. Now let's discuss barred. It is a verb that means prevented or excluded. In simpler words, it means not allowed or blocked from accessing or participating in something. For instance, imagine a situation where someone is restricted or forbidden from engaging in a particular activity. In this case, they are barred from entering. Let's see an example of how to use it in a sentence. He was barred from the exclusive club due to his previous behavior. Another example could be, the road was temporarily barred for maintenance work. Synonyms for barred include prohibited, banned, forbidden, or disallowed. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be allowed, permitted, authorized, or granted access. Our last word is breakthrough. It is a noun that refers to a significant development or achievement. In simpler terms, it means a big success or accomplishment. Let's see some examples. One example is, the scientist made a breakthrough in cancer research. Another example could be, the breakthrough in negotiations brought hope. Synonyms for breakthrough include milestone, innovation, and discovery. Antonyms, which are words with opposite meanings, would be setback, failure, and regression. Now let's see how much you remember. The aggrieved party unanimously called for a breakthrough in multilateralism to rectify the turpitude and overcome the Lacunae, but the fanciful proposal was barred due to the prolonged disagreement and acerbic remarks. Did you understand the meaning of the above sentence? If yes, then congratulations. If not, then hit the restart button and try again. Thank you for joining the session.